Hi everyone, Mike DelRose Jr. here with my colleague and business partner, Bobby McShane. Bobby, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good today. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
Today's topic is questions to ask your listing agent before you hire them. 20 years ago, I would say every piece of business we'd ever get was past clients and referral. 90%. Who do you work with? Oh, you worked with Mike DelRose. Yeah, we're going to go work with Mike DelRose now. And that's the way it was throughout the industry. Obviously, the information age has changed that entirely. I met with a couple of different buyers and sellers in the past 2 weeks that found me through AI, which is incredible. Meeting with social media influencers and talking about the real estate space specifically, the model has kind of changed. So when you get a referral, to work with, let's say, Bobby and I, you're not immediately hiring us. You're doing your due diligence as you should be doing. So what's happening is you're going to all of our social channels, you're going to my LinkedIn page, you're going to my website, my blog, my media channels, and you're making sure that we're the right person to hire. And you should be doing that with all your professionals. Information age has allowed us to do that. The internet's wonderful. So we're going to go over some common questions we think you should be asking a listing agent before you make the decision to hire them. Um, this is a holistic approach. There's not a make or break question if the person you're interviewing doesn't score well, in your opinion, for one question. I think everyone's different. Your listing is going to be different. And those are all things to take into consideration at the very least. Um, so, with that, Bobby, why don't you ask the first question that you think is most important to a listing agent?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people will typically ask how long someone's been in business. More importantly, I think you might want to ask how many houses have you sold in the last year? Say, a good analogy or example I have is, would you rather have a doctor perform a surgery on you that's been in business for 30 years but only does those surgeries once a year? Or would you rather have someone that's only been in doing surgeries for 5 years but does them every month, for example?
No, that's a great point. So, a second part to that, Bobby, is asking how knowledgeable they are in the market. And this encompasses a lot because it's not just market data and market context as how it applies to you as a seller in your specific listing, but there's so many industry changings coming at light speed now. We've had new laws pertaining to brokerage fees and rentals. We've had home inspections, tax withholding law from the state. So there's no end to changes, and if the listing agent is not up to date on those changes, it's a liability to you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I think one of the next ones to kind of segue from that is client references. So um, I know I've personally offered client references to sellers, and I don't know honestly if they actually reached out or not, but I don't know if you've had any experience with that as well too.
I actually have. In the 16 years I've been in business, only one client has ever asked to speak with my past clients. And I was all for it. I have no problem with that. They actually reached out and contacted three clients I gave them. And that was, that was enough. I went and sold this person a house later on. But only one in 15, 16 years of business, which I found interesting. There's no problem with asking agents for references. You see our reviews online, those are great. Those are all happy clients. But actually getting to speak to someone and finding the context is really valuable.
Absolutely. Yep.
Next, what do you do for marketing? Now, I have a degree in marketing. I was part of the American Marketing Association. I attended marketing events. And I'll tell you right now that most people don't understand what marketing actually is. The average person is going to associate marketing with promotion or advertising, right? The way you see a listing come through the internet, see a yard in the sign. Marketing is made up of different components: product, price, place, promotion, and positioning. And each of those work in tandem. You can't do one without the other. So, for example, if you're promoting a listing and you're advertising a listing, if it's not priced properly for the market, all that promotion in the world's not going to help get your house sold for the highest and best use or the highest dollar. It's just not going to happen. So we actually look at those components interchangeably. What are we pricing your unit at that's appropriate for the current market and how it relates to other listings? What channels is your ideal buyer going to go through? Are they first-time home buyers? They're probably not looking at Facebook for, finding their next home. So we're promoting it on pay-per-click ads and real estate portals that are actually going to reach that audience. Investors might be looking for different opportunities and might be looking to more private networks if that's the case. There's different buyers for every single type of property. Some encompass more groups of buyers, but it's really important you position your property right. So I think when you ask that question, the answer, how it's answered, is going to be very telling as to how knowledgeable that person is in the market. So definitely ask, what do you do for marketing, and expect a long answer. It's very hard to cover everything we do during a transaction, but marketing is probably the most important.
And then lastly, I think a big question would be, how do you communicate? I think a lot of the times when I talk with buyers or sellers that maybe had a bad experience in the past or something went off the rails, it's been many times due to lack of communication. I know the process, there's times where you're communicating a lot with your agent daily, depending on what's part of the process you are. And then other times there might be a little bit of a silence. So I think it's all about setting expectations beforehand, and I think working with an agent that can set those expectations, obviously be responsive, but how they communicate effectively, and to your preference as well. Some people prefer, you know, phone call, text, email, but I think that's important as
Everyone's going to
well.
be different. And to support that line of thought, I go on real estate forums. I get a pulse of what's going on nationally, how buyers and sellers are feeling. There's no shortage of agent complaints. I understand it. That's a topic for a different day. But when I'm reading these situations, I can't tell you how many of them could be addressed just by better communication and setting expectations properly. Again, we're in a difficult business. We do complex things, but we should be able to articulate those complex issues to you if we're going to be effective at our jobs. So I think understanding that you need to let us know how you like to communicate and see how that agent's going to communicate with you, ask that question. Make sure you understand. I think you're going to avoid a ton of problems that way. So that is 5 major questions for asking a listing agent before you hire them. Hopefully, you're hiring us. I think we do a great job of answering all those questions, but asking in the moment and getting most up to date information from that agent is paramount to you and your future success. So, thank you, Bobby, and we'll catch up with you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.